In 2002, it's reported that the term selfie was coined as it was posted on an online forum to refer to the picture of self taken by self. It would be popularized in the 2010s, and in 2013, it became Oxford Dictionary's word of the year. No doubt, the selfie craze caught on and has continued to be on trend. There's the duck face model pouting selfie. There's the mirror shot selfie. There's the no makeup natural look selfie. There's even something called the groupie or groupie, which is a group selfie. It's not uncommon for people to prefer to take a selfie rather than get a good picture that someone else takes. We treasure those people with real long arms, like my son, who we're like, here, you do it. Get as far back as you can. The selfie is on trend. They even made selfie sticks so you can do better selfies. But the point is that the self has always been trendy. This is not a new or recent phenomenon. Man has always been into selfie. Self-reliance, self-dependence, self-centeredness, self-sufficiency. In other words, to be human really is to be selfish, at least on this side of the fall. Self-trusting, self-preferring, self-defining, and self-ruling. We have a love-hate relationship with self today, do we not? On one hand, we clearly love ourselves. We pamper ourselves. We prioritize ourselves. We post ourselves. We brand ourselves. Times we praise ourselves. We try to define and redefine ourselves. We love ourselves. On the other hand, sometimes it seems like we hate ourselves. We have to change ourselves. We have to rearrange ourselves. There's replacements and enhancements. There's additions and reductions. We do things with the lip, with the hip, with the nose, with the cheek, with the eye. In some ways, you would wonder if we disapprove of ourselves. Always trying to improve ourselves. Sometimes even willing to lose ourselves. Brothers and sisters, the biblical truth is that God has been aiming to dethrone the self since the garden. Where God is king, self cannot be. Where God is central, self cannot be. And that is because, as our text will show us today, self-righteous, self-reliant, self-centered people cannot enter the kingdom of God. Self-righteous, self-reliant, self-centered people cannot enter the kingdom of God. And so therefore, God has to wrestle self off the throne. So today I want to talk about wrestling with God. Our text this morning is about a UFC match, not a WWE. Somebody told me it's not fake, it's just staged. Well, this is neither fake nor staged. This is blood, sweat, and tears, a wrestling match between God and Jacob, who we've been looking at. Jacob, he is the poster child in the Bible of self-sufficient, self-scheming, self-seeking, and self-centered. That's who Jacob has been. Now, we've seen some progress in Jacob's life. He is changing. He is under the unique and progressive grace of God. However, we still see today that there's some self that God has to get rid of. And saints, isn't that true with you and me? We're doing better, but God still has to get with us because we still are a little too much into ourselves. And there's a little too much self on the throne of our own hearts. This text today is said to be the climax of something that goes back to Genesis 28, where you see Jacob come out of the promised land, and he winds up in Bethel and he meets God. Now we're going to see that he's on his way back to the promised land, and again he meets God. In other words, they call that inclusio, that this is one whole scenario to talk about the one who met God. But whatever happened in Bethel, something unique had to happen here where we are now in this text in Genesis 32. And what Jacob represents for all of us is he is a mirror of the life of Israel, the life of any sinner, and the life of any Christian. It was his sin that got him, drove him out the land, or drove him out the sweet spot, drove him out of what God had for him. That's what sin does, isn't it? Sin disrupted his life. Sin destroyed his relationships. Sin damaged his peace. Sin caused him to deviate from God's path. And it was supposed to just be a quick fix. Genesis 27:44 said, why don't you go to Laban for a few days? And now here we are 20 years later. It's been said and attributed to the old Baptist preacher Adrian Rogers, sin will take you farther than you want to go, keep you longer than you want to stay, and cost you more than you wanted to pay.